tell you now just who they are. Listen to their stories and how they tell when they join and how they're doing so well. Telling us what it's all about today and how they are loving that own passive way. On passive, here today on passive, there's no better way. Listen to the Julie and the Milo show, so then you can be the very first to know. On passive, it's a here today. Julie and Milo show is coming your way on passive.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is April 14th, 2021. Welcome to the Julie and Milo show. My name is Julie. I'm coming to you from Orange County, California. My dear friend Milo. Milo, could you please say hello?
Hey, how you guys doing? It's Milo from Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you, Milo. Milo, we are so blessed that we get to sit here and share everyone's stories, people from across the world. It is because of ONPASSIVE. ONPASSIVE, created by Mr. Ash Mufar. He's giving ONPASSIVE to the world, and it takes many of us founders to share that gift, to share ONPASSIVE with the world. Thank you so much, Milo, for being with me every single day to talk about our show, to talk with our founders across the world. In our holding room right now, we do have a special guest from another side of the world. So let's please help me to welcome her.
Hey, Julie, yes, we got someone from across the pond, as we say. We're really excited to have her here today. And she comes to us from Australia. So let me welcome to the stage, Narelle Warcon. Narelle, come on out.
Hey, hello.
How are you? It's so good to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for
Hello,
having me.
Narelle.
Hi, Julie.
Hello, Narelle. So good to have you. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Narelle, we like to have the founders come on the show. And what we like to do is we like to get to know the founders a little bit better. So we want to know you a little bit better. So let's start where it all began. Where was Narelle born? What about her parents? What about her siblings? How about her family now? Go through that. Take about 3 minutes and go through that if you would.
Okay, thank you. I was born in February of 1961, which means I just turned 60 this year. So I was born in a family of 7, 1 boy and 6 girls. I am the 5th child. My parents were at that stage living on the coast of a town called Bundaberg, Queensland. It's a sugarcane country. So my dad used to come home blackened by cutting the cane because it was all done by hand back then before machines. My parents are both now passed on, and so has my brother. He died at the age of 71, so it was a young age to be passing on, but both my parents lived to old age. So the boy has gone. I have 5 sisters, so there's 6 of us girls. Mum and Dad, I suppose Dad more wanted boys because they were dairy farmers as well. So, boys are sort of something that you really want to work on the farm. One of my sisters, 2 up from me, she left school early and helped Dad on the farm. So that was quite incredible. But it was, it was great times, dairy farm. I mean, it was lots of fun. Creeks you could drink water out of back then. Mum and Dad were on very big dairy farms, like milking 350 cattle or cows twice a day. So there's never ever a rest time for dairy farmers. Dad was always up early, Mum too, but Dad used to go off to the dairy. And I have 3 children myself. Now, I had difficulties in having children. I found out from the age of 21 that my chance of ever having children was only 5% after having major surgery. I have a boy who was born very premature. He was 13 weeks early and weighed only 1 pound 12. He dropped to 1 pound 8, and that was a very scary time because he was hospitalized for 4 months before I got him home. He was had heart surgery at 8 days. His right lung collapsed. He had 5 blood transfusions. So it was a very difficult time for me. His father had left me when I was 3 months pregnant. So I also carried the burden of having to raise this child by myself. I also have 2 beautiful daughters. So 10 years later, I fell pregnant again with my first daughter, Yolanda. And Yolanda was, 9 weeks early and weighed 2 pounds 14. And my last child, which is another daughter, Janali. And Janali was what I call my big baby because she was 3 weeks early and weighed 5 pounds 13. So I have children, one now 21 last year, right up to my son turns 37 in June this year. So
Wow.
been very blessed that way with being able to have them, firstly, and secondly, that they survived through being born premature. So.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's quite a journey you've gone through, right? I know you have written a book.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the book and what came about, what made you decide to write a book and put it out to the world.
Well, thank you, Julie. Yes, I have written a book, and it was a journey on its own just to get to there. Many things in my life have happened, particularly through bad relationships. In 2007, I was working in the coal mines, driving the big yellow dump trucks. I mean, something that I really put myself out there because very male-dominated arena. And the fact is, at the time of the position becoming available, they wanted somebody between the age of 18 and 25, and I was 43. And I got the job because I was very persistent and consistent in letting them know that this job was for me, or at least one of them. I was in the mines for a couple of years. It was quite difficult at first, I had one brother and basically the 5 sisters. So I'd never really been in a male working environment. And some of those guys are not the nicest to women. They tend to sort of name call or, try and belittle you in situations like that. In 2000, I went on to be really successful. I drove a water cart. I, did all these things which I really loved and changed teams in the sense so that I was actually with very supportive married men and a couple of other women. So in 2007, I was reversing my truck. It was a 3 a.m. in the morning night shift, and they dropped the excavator bucket down onto the headboard of my truck. It threw me around the cab. I did have a seatbelt on, but it threw my neck around and my head. And as you know, these machines are very large and you can't sort of get away from them. I'm very glad and very blessed that I wasn't hurt further. However, I was never was able to go back to work, and I suffered chronic pain for 7 years. Now, in that time, I didn't want to look in mirrors. All I could see with pain. I went through a lot of physical, like physio and things like that to try and correct my neck and my injury. However, it never really ever came right. So in 2012, after moving around a few times and things like that, I decided that my story needed to be shared with the world because I had a story that just never seemed to stop sometimes. And never does. And I think we all have a story, but not everybody will write a book. So I started this journey of writing my book thinking I was going to put my big panties on and my cape, and I was off to save the world for women because somebody needed to say something, And I knew that there was a lot of awareness around domestic violence, and it's certainly coming to the fore more so now. In my day, I grew up, mum and dad were beautiful people, however, involved in a, religious sort of going to church and, that sort of thing, that a lot of the time when I was going through struggles in relationships, it was pushed under the carpet. I wasn't quite sure where I sort of sat in relationships. I knew that my parents loved me, but there was not a lot of outward showing of love back then. Sex and that sort of thing was never discussed. And I found I was sort of the black sheep of the family, I suppose, in trying to get out there and learn more. And I learned a lot from school, which is the wrong way of learning. However, like I said, in 2012, I started writing, and I found that I had to release a lot of tears, and I needed to heal things that I'd never really released to people. I was sexually abused as a 2-year-old girl that came out in my early 50s, and I realized then that what had happened in my life was more about the choices that I had made came from something I didn't even know had happened to me. So I knew about, sexual abuse at 10 years old. I was raped at the age of 14, taken by 3 men out bush and raped by 2 of them. I can speak about that, and please, I just want our listeners to know that I don't take this lightly. It's just because I have healed from it that I'm able to detach from that emotion around that. So my book, and I have a copy here if you don't mind me showing you. It may be back the front. I'm not quite sure if you can
What is the name of it? If you show it right there,
it's Blonde Roots.
Blonde Root.
Yeah.
One of the women triumph over 5 lifetime pain.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 lifetimes of pain.
Wow.
So the reason, it was called Blonde Roots is because it's a bit of a play on words. People, once they read the book, will understand that. And I'm not quite sure in your society, in your country, but blonde sort of relates to being a bit dumb. And the fact that I went back so many times into relationships, bad relationships, domestic violence, abuse. Basically, I've sort of suffered through sexual, physical, mental, financial, and also cultural abuse. And you really sort of wonder how a person can keep going back to that. But it was only when I realized what had happened to me as a very young age that I started to realize I had taken on the perpetrator's fear. I was unworthy. I used to scratch my face out of school photos because I didn't understand who I was. So
I so related to you. I know we have a lot to talk about. We do, because there's things in life that we think that's the only solution, but we know we always have a way out, but we decided to do it's just because there's a way. Let's talk about the women part of that in a bit later. I really wanted to go into ONPASSIVE, the company that we are in right now, and such a blessing when Mr. Ashmofar has literally come up with "Oh Woman," and I felt that is very strongly because I was able to rise out from there, and then now it's another power for me to take it and run it and help other women. It's kind of like that's how I feel personally. But thank God that you shared your story. Milo, do you have a question? Do you have another personal questions you want to ask her before I go into ONPASSIVE topic, or should I go into it?
Yeah, just real quick, because we're kind of running behind on time, but just tell us a couple minutes about being a florist.
Oh gosh, that was a talent handed down from my mum. And the funny thing is, when I left school, I went in and I worked in a kitchen in a service station, they call them here, and that was okay. It was just a little bit of part-time work, and I landed a job in a sports store. And back then they sold guns in this sports store, and I used to sell ammunition. But from there, I got a traineeship into a florist shop. Now, I actually lied to get the job because one of the questions that the owner asked me was, can you sew? Did you do sewing at school? Mate, I couldn't even sew a straight line. But I didn't think she was going to whip out a sewing machine and ask me to sew right there. So I lied and said, absolutely, yes. I had one of my sisters is a seamstress, and she's been to America with her work. She's getting older now in age, but she was quite talented. But yeah, so I got this job as a traineeship as a florist. Little did I know that I actually had a passion for it, and I went on to actually own my own florist shops, 2 of my own florist shops. I'm very talented. I have an eye for, we've worked with interior designers and decorators and things like that. And I absolutely loved it. I love seeing the smile on people's faces. You know, Valentine's Day, it was like a smorgasbord of men in the shop because they were all there to buy their girlfriends, wives, whatever, flowers, particularly roses. Excuse me. It was a very busy time. And I remember when I first opened my florist shop, the very first Valentine's Day, I wasn't prepared because I'd not done one before in my own business. You know, they're very busy times. And we were absolutely strapped, absolutely strapped. I worked 37 hours straight. I had no sleep. Yeah, because I had to do the work. You know, you can't just put it off for another day. So I remember, you know, there was men everywhere in the shop, and in comes this little old lady, and she says, "Oh, lovely, you've got a lot of flowers around here." She obviously was oblivious to the fact that it was Valentine's Day. And so she wanted to come out the back, because I was very open with people, you know, coming in, having a look at the flowers in the cold room or out the back. You know, we had a great relationship with a lot of our clients because that's exactly what we did. They'd come out, put the jug on and have a cuppa out the back and watch me do my floristry in a sense. My mum worked for me. It was very family run. I had sisters come. They're all very talented in many ways, but I love flowers. I absolutely can't go past a florist shop, even a supermarket, anywhere that has flowers, and at least have a look, if not a smell sometimes. But I can get lost in florist shops. So yeah.
That's cute. Let's talk about ONPASSIVE. It is a reason for us to being here and connecting with each other. And I know I brought a little bit up earlier, but I like to find out, how did you join ONPASSIVE? When did you join ONPASSIVE? How did you hear about it? And what made you take the action to become a ONPASSIVE founder?
Absolutely. I joined in October the 10th, 2020. And the reason I joined ONPASSIVE or even heard about it, I mean, I wish now that I'd heard about it earlier, had no idea. But every year I fundraise for a great niece of mine called Mimi. Mimi's 8 years old and she has cerebral palsy. Now, every year her own parents fundraise because they go to Sydney, Australia, to have treatment done by an American company called Napa, who works on Mimi's muscles to be able to help her to walk one day. So they certainly help in lots of ways, but it's costly. We don't have any, the health insurance or our government doesn't cover that cost. So it's about $8,000 to $10,000 for a 3-week block, which is very expensive, but it does help Mimi, and it has helped her to achieve to at least standing and holding on to something so far. But aided, not unaided. So my fundraising event I put up every year because there's not a lot I can do physically. I'm unable to work anymore in a physical capacity. So I put a fundraiser up, and a friend of mine, Val Astle, who is now my sponsor from New Zealand, sent me this email with a video to watch. Her wording was, "Hi Narelle, you know, about feeling for Mimi. At this stage, she couldn't help financially, but she wanted me to take a look at this company called ONPASSIVE." Excuse me. Look, I left it there for a week. I, you know, was having things going on at the time, but I did get back to it because I trusted her as a friend to be sending me something that I needed to look at. Now, one of the things I didn't realize also was when you do fundraisers, whether it's GoFundMe or whether it's on Facebook or any of the platforms that do that, I didn't realize, I really did not know that they take 30% of the money. You know, I knew that they took something, you know, maybe an admin fee, but I didn't realize that it was up to 30% that they take of the money raised to help people who are in need. You know, who does that? So I looked at this, I joined immediately. There was really nothing more that I could say because I watched a video that came from the heart. It spoke to my heart. And I realized that not only was this going to be able to help myself and my own children and my own granddaughter, it was going to be able to give Mimi the lifestyle that she needs to live her life out. it was going to give the funds available that she could walk, or maybe even go to America one day and have the $100,000 operation to help cerebral palsy people walk. You know, so that in itself just spoke to me. So that's basically where I've come from with the ONPASSIVE
Wow.
journey. I've really learnt so much along the way now. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's basically another way for us to connecting with the world. You know, it's because we can sit here, we can go on Facebook, but it's just a shell for us, to me, I feel like. But on passive is the true connection to lifting each other up. So
yeah,
beautiful
I
that,
think
yeah, Milo.
I think, sorry, it's very personal in the sense that, you know, over the years, I've been on Facebook since 2007, and I have a
Yeah.
following because of my book and story and things like that. I just sort of find that with ONPASSIVE, it has become very personal because the care factor, the love, the concern, you know, that's shown by these people. It's a universe shaped in a heart, you know, like that's where it's coming from. Yeah, so that's how I resonate really well with everybody in ONPASSIVE. So
That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
That's an incredible story. You have an incredible story. And, you know, I love what you said about the fundraisers. It's so true. You know, I never realized that they took that much money out either in the GoFundMe, which is I think 17 to 30%. But if you go to some of these other organizations, it's even more than that, and it's crazy. You know, you think you're giving to help something, and it's going to the administrators. So but let's move on. So on passive, we like to say on the show, it's changing the world one person at a time. And it started with Ash Mafaro. And as I listen to your story, I see, you know, that, you know, when we first come in, we might come in for a reason of, you know, we want to see what it's going to do for us, what those apples are going to come in, how it's going to be you know, it's going to be a residual income. It's going to give us time freedom. It's going to give us abundant life. And then all of a sudden we realize, yeah, that is all going to happen. That it's done. That's a done deal. But then our heart and mind starts listening to Ash, you know, and his message that he resonates with us, you know, about how are we going to help humanity? What are we going to do in that? So this is a two-part question. I'd like for you to tell me, number one, what is the apples going to do for you personally, you and your immediate family? What is your dream, your goals with that? And then number two, how is it going to help whatever you want to do? You've got some fundraisers.
yeah, thank you. I think personally, you know, I'm at an age now where, you know, there's probably more life behind me than there is in front of me. I've been a giver most of my life. And actually, one of the things that I learned that I had to do was learn how to receive. You know, it's not about give and take, it's about giving and receiving. And as a giver, all you want to do is give, give, give. You give, you know, the shirt off your back. But learning how to receive. So this for me was like, and it still will be something that will probably blow me away a little bit, because I personally don't wish for much. My son and I bought a house together a couple of years ago, and so I'd be paying the mortgage. But other than that, and doing a couple of things around the house, but other than that, it'll be supporting my children, you know, their dream to maybe owning their own home or having that better car. You know, my eldest daughter has my granddaughter, so my granddaughter's just been to visit recently, and you know, having that she doesn't have to work full time all the time, so that she can support her daughter or maybe even have another baby. But yeah, for me, I think it's about, you know, filling the pot, having the apple basket full, so that you can choose to do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. You know, so personally, that's me. There's, you know, many places that I can help. Obviously, one would be through domestic violence and supporting women in those situations, you know, safe houses. I've always wanted to have a retreat that was just for those who had suffered through or going through domestic violence. where they felt in a safe place, but they learned how to cook and garden and paint and, you know, have relaxation times around that. So that's one of my very big goals. And I think that will come, absolutely. The second point, one of the things I think stuck with me with what Ash says is that we are the correction to the corrupted or the corruption. So that really stuck with me, because when you look at our world as it is today, as it was when we were growing up, things have changed a lot. And there's certainly a lot of greed, you know, power hungry people out there. And, you know, we don't need to go too far to find that. I think our sense of love as we're growing up, or family or unity, has changed a little, where people are just wanting what's the next best thing I can get? What's the biggest house, the best car, you know? And to me, it was more about how can we view somebody with so much money while there's children starving? And that really upsets me. I support as much as I can a couple of well, orphanages. They don't even have an orphanage. They're just somebody looking after children, one in Haiti and one in Uganda, and I support them. I think a blessing to me was just recently with the Uganda, I have gifted a foundership to that gentleman who's, you know, helping to raise 8 children. It was up to 20. But I gifted what I could at Easter, which was a small amount of $20, you know, but for them, the blessing that came back to me was that he took the children to a church, which was about 3 kilometers away. I'm not quite sure in miles how much that is, about 5 miles. And for the first time in a year, the children ate meat. And I'm not saying meat's the answer to any hunger pains, but just the excitement of having sufficient funds to go and do that. So the correction to the corruption is huge for me. So I want to make a difference there in any way possible, supporting anybody I possibly can in making that happen, so that we have a more balanced lifestyle in our world for everybody. You know, this is a heartfelt thing. Everybody needs to feel loved and cared about and heard, not just shut up and pushed away. So that's a very strong point for me.
Wow, I
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead,
love
Milo.
I love your passion. You know, I love what you said, man. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, we're about out of time. It's almost our 30 minutes is up. So what I'd like to do is send it over to Julie. But thank you so much for coming and for sharing your heart with us. You know, really
I
appreciate
appreciate you, Milo. I appreciate you, Julie.
Thank you, Narelle. Thank you so much for making time and changing a lot of scheduling to be here with us. I really appreciate you. It's really heartfelt for your story, your strength of putting it out there and help other people. I really appreciate you, truly appreciate you for being here with us. Maybe take another half of a minute, say your last words, please.
Well, I think I've sort of covered everything in last words. I'm a very passionate woman. I have lived through a hardship in life, and I think that we can all take away the fact that it's not just about us. We're not put on this planet. We're not, I love the Lord. I pray often to the Lord, because there was a stage in my life where I didn't realize what purpose I had, why He kept me alive when I had my open heart surgery, which obviously is another story. And I've been praying for a long time, Lord, I don't know why you kept me alive if I'm just doing very little, So ONPASSIVE came because that's what I needed to do. I needed to use my heart, use my love, and show compassion to others and support others. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here with us. There you have it, everyone. It's Narelle from Australia. She's coming here to share us the story. If her story, vibrate your heart, pull your heart, find out why she's here. Find out what is ONPASSIVE. Get back with the person who shared this message with you, because once you get the message and you take the action, it will change your life forever. It has changed for me. It has changed Narelle's life. It has changed Milo's life. So get back with the person who shared this message with you. As always, please go to julieandmilo.com, where, let me see if I could do it right. julieandmilo.com. There are many stories here. And if you need to get in touch with us, there's a tap on the left-hand side. Send us a message. Let us know you're interested in being in the show if you have any question at all. We also have the cruise information, which we're planning to have a Julie and Milo show event. If you like to be part of it, please send us the message as well. We also have a Facebook group right there. Milo can point it out. I don't know how to use this, but ONPASSIVE with a heart. Join us there. Share your heart out of ONPASSIVE. Share your heart out of how much in love you are connecting to other souls around the globe. Thank you so much for watching the Julie and Milo show. Thank you, Narelle, for being here with us. As always, please stay well, stay healthy, and stay alive. Good night from Orange County, California.
Good night from Australia.
Good night from Nashville, Tennessee.
Listen to